Three bear children after school deep mountain exploration accidentally found a mysterious water cave. A bird's egg is glittering in the water. The main character, Mike, in order to please Annie, jumped directly into the water. The egg is as big as a soccer. Mike used all his strength to lift it. Several people began to study its origin. At that moment, Annie found that her hairpin was missing, so she rushed back to the water hole to look for it. Suddenly, there was a 6.66 magnitude earthquake in the mountain. Annie climbed out with great difficulty and found that Mike and the three of them were gone. Only the eggshells were left on the ground. Panicked, Annie called for the police. A carpet search begins, but there was still no sign of the three. Annie told the police what had happened, but no one believed her. She thought she was brain dead. Until the next day, they found the body of one of them. It was Fatty, one of the three missing, but this place is hundreds of kilometers away from where he disappeared. After forensic examination, Fatty didn't die of homicide either, but he died of asthma. But where did the other two go? And what secrets are hidden in the egg? The whole incident was shrouded in a layer of fog. Until this day, Annie, who was home alone, heard a noise outside the door, came out to check. She found a man acting suspiciously. Annie went after him. On the way, her foot was scraped and she stopped to check. At that moment, a strange man appeared in front of her, said he was Mike. Annie looked at the man in front of her and found it hard to accept. Instead, he began to tell the story of what happened. This child fished a weird bird egg out of the water, then he lifted it above his head, smashing him to pieces. Time stops at this moment. The birds in the sky, the jumping kittens, all the people and things in the street were frozen in this moment. At this moment, the three of them became excited. Not only did they not have to pay their summer homework, they could eat as much food as they wanted in the store. You can play with all the toys you like, even reading a cartoon is suspended. In order to facilitate entertainment, they moved directly into the mall. But how long can you last in such a world? Not long after, an accident happened. That day, Fatty had a sudden asthma attack. Because of the lack of medical treatment, he passed away. Mike, two people were very sad. They took him to the beach, dug a big hole, buried the little Fat and school bag together. This is to never forget the homework. Time flies. 5 years have passed. Everything here has not changed a bit, but Mike and the two have gradually grown up. In this silent world, they also became mentally dazed. The lonely life. Mike and the two broke down. Until that day, Mike noticed a change in the moon. He wanted to tell his companion the good news, but he found that his companion had disappeared. He searched almost the entire island. Finally, he found his clothes at the cliff. Now, even his only companion was gone. He had no more faith to keep going. He decided to jump into the sea to kill himself. As he was sinking, he found the body of his companion. The next moment, he woke up on the shore. To his horror, he found that everything around him had changed. The sea was flowing and the seagulls were flying. It was all so strange. Boy smashes a strange egg. Time is permanently suspended. Mike was trapped in a static world for over a decade. When he returns home, Mom doesn't recognize him either. Looking at the things moving in front of him, he is terrified and afraid. The only person he can trust now is Annie, so he leads Annie to the back of the hill. The two meet again. Annie looked at Mike in front of her. She couldn't believe it. Just a few months later, Mike has grown more than a dozen years, but it was all so unbelievable. She got up and fled in a panic. When she got home, her instincts told her this man might really be Mike. Annie mustered up the courage to go to their secret base. She found Mike curled up next to her bed, looking at Mike's back carved for her on the wall. She finally believed it. The two of them cried out in the house. At that moment, Annie remembered there was still an egg in the water hole. If only she could fall again and stay in the still world for a dozen years, then she would be the same age as Mike. Mike knew how lonely the still world was. I'm sure you wouldn't agree with Annie. However, in order to be with Mike, Annie still sneaked into the water hole and got the rest of the eggs. But Mike found it in time. He grabbed the egg. Just then, the police arrived. They thought that Mike had trafficked Annie. They had to arrest him. The two were forced to the edge of the cliff. Annie stood in front of Mike, but no matter how much she tried to explain, but no one believed her. One of them forced to jump on. As a result, Annie's foot slipped and fell off the cliff, and then the scene changed. Annie woke up on the beach. It turns out that in order to save Annie, Mike broke the egg again, entered the world of stillness, and this time he will spend more than 10 years in the dark, and there is no one else to accompany Mike. So, at the end of the story, Annie waits for Mike. They look at each other. This is the man she's loved for just a few days, but he had already spent his whole life